Hello, my sewing friends. Today's video is part of the hashtag SewATop, the SewATop blog hop, being hosted by Claire with Penguin and Pear Dressmaking. I'll link her channel below. It's simply a month-long opportunity for you to visit a bunch of sewing YouTubers, maybe new ones that you haven't discovered yet. Every day through the month of August, one of the YouTubers will review a top that they sewed. I took my inspiration from a Tory Burch button-down patchwork top, and I sewed this top. I'll share with you the pattern that I used, and I'll also share with you how you can do it yourself, how you can sew it yourself and recreate a designer look. I'm Sharon with Sharon Sews, and welcome to my channel. If you've been following, yesterday you know it was Jenny with Sew Me Beautiful, and tomorrow you will get to see Alex with Gingerhead Company. Both of those channels I will link below. When I signed up to participate in this SewATop challenge, I had been researching fall 2020 trends, and one of them that drew my attention was patchwork. So I was reading an article, I'll link it below, and it had a picture of a Tory Burch button-down shirt, very similar to this. And I thought, oh, that's cute. I think I might try and recreate that. So I'm going to share with you how I recreated it and give you a review of the pattern that I chose. I chose McCall's 7811, and I will share with you why I chose this one, even though it is not, as you can see, not identical to the Tory Burch inspiration shirt. At the end of the video, I will also have some additional patterns that you could use if you wanted to recreate this designer look yourself.
And here I am wearing my new shirt. I think this will be a really great transition piece from warmer weather to cooler weather in the fall, although I have been reminded that it can be in the 90s through the end of September here.
Now the pattern I chose, as I said, was 7811. This is a McCall's pattern. And the reason I chose this one is because, number one, of the V neckline. You can see right here, little V neck. It doesn't come all the way up. I never wear button-up shirts buttoned all the way up. It just, I hate the way that feels. And I also chose this one because it has princess seams. Princess seams are so much easier, in my opinion, to do a full bust adjustment. And I did do a full bust adjustment on this shirt. I also wanted a shirt that had a collar band, and this does indeed have a separate collar band. And I also wanted the collar and a separate front band piece. It just makes it easier if you're going to color block or patchwork this top.
Now you may have noticed that the designer inspiration shirt did have patch pockets, and that is something that I chose to eliminate because I typically don't like to draw a lot of attention to my bust line. That's the reason I left the pockets off. You could certainly add them.
Let me share with you what I did. The very first thing that I did is I took out the instructions and found the line drawing, and then I went to my printer and I enlarged it. I enlarged the view that I'm going to do, which was view A. And then I simply drew in where I thought I might want to color block and just kind of did different patterns, kind of visualize what I thought it might look like. Now it chose colors. I ended up choosing colors very similar to the inspiration shirt. And that was simply because I had this shirting fabric on hand. It's a blue and white stripe. Oh, it's got a beautiful feel to it. I wish you could feel it. It's fairly lightweight, which I like for the weather that we experience here in the South. And it has a tiny little bit of lycra in it, a little bit of stretch, which makes it super comfortable. So I dug through my stash. I did not have any fabrics that coordinated with it. Honestly, I don't keep a lot of shirting type fabrics on hand because I typically don't wear structured shirts. I tend to be a little more flowy like this. By the way, I didn't sew this. I found it in a thrift shop. And I like things that are a little more flowy or knits. It's just really more my style. But I will tell you, my husband loves button-down shirts and he loves it when I wear them. So that's one reason I chose this also. So what I did is I had to go purchase some fabric. I went to my local quilt shop. I really liked, since I was going with the blue and white stripe, I really liked the colors that they had in that inspiration shirt. The blue and kind of the mustard yellow. I didn't go with the orange mainly because I couldn't find something like that. I liked these three colors together. So as I said, I went to my local quilt shop. These are quilting cottons. Once I had my fabric in place, then I had to prepare the pattern pieces for the blocking. The first step to do that, if you need any alterations, do your alteration. I did my full bust adjustment first on the princess seams. And the one thing I'm going to caution you or remind you would be a better word. If you do a full bust adjustment, you also need to add length to your front band. I forgot to do that. Fortunately, I had enough fabric of both the shirting and the quilting cotton and interfacing that I was able to recut another piece and make it long enough. Otherwise, what I would have done is I just would have simply color blocked it down there also.
The very first thing you need to do is trace that front pattern piece. So I just used tracing paper, took the pattern piece and outlined it completely after I had already done my alterations. Then I turned it over because I wanted to make sure that the color blocking was on the left side when I put the shirt together. You can see my little drawing there, and you can see that I just laid it right next to that drawing to make sure it was correct. I referred to that drawing quite a bit as I was doing this. The next thing you need to do is add in your seam allowances, draw them in because you're going to be cutting this piece in half. So I just did a 5/8 inch seam allowance because that is what the pattern is designed for. I am using my handy dandy little SA curve ruler that I found on Amazon. It works wonders if you want to use it for seam allowances. I actually discovered this when I was going through the BurdaStyle Teacher Academy course. Your next step is you want to determine how wide you want that color block. The blue band, I wanted about 2 inches wide, so I measured 2 inches over all the way along the seam line and drew that line. And then I traced both of those pieces. So you're going to have 2 separate pattern pieces, and then you need to make sure to add seam allowances on that seam that's going to connect together. Once I had all of my pieces done, I took sticky notes and I wrote on them how many I wanted to cut from the striped fabric, what I wanted to cut from the floral fabric, or the yellow fabric, or the blue fabric. I also marked if I needed to place that pattern piece right side up or right side down. I just didn't want to end up with 2 of one pattern piece and none of another, or my color blocking on the opposite side from what I had planned.
Once I had all of my pattern pieces ready and marked so that I knew which fabric to use for which pattern piece and which way to lay the pattern piece so I wouldn't end up doing opposite from what I had planned, then I simply sewed the shirt. So now I can tell you real quickly about the construction of this shirt. Now this pattern is rated easy for construction. I would agree with that. It's a pretty easy top to put together. The instructions are very well written. And when you're going to sew this, the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to piece this together, this front side. You're going to want to piece this one together right here on that seam, and then you're going to treat that as one piece similar to right over here. So then you're just going to stitch your princess seams front and back. Go ahead and finish them however you wish. I now have a serger that works really well. I'm so happy about that. So I serged everything in here. You're going to stitch your shoulder seams and you're going to stitch your side seams. What I wish I would have done is tried it on at that point. It's a little loose. It's a little looser than I wish.
You may notice that I did color block the cuffs on the sleeve also. And the one thing I did forget to check is the length of the sleeves. I typically shorten all of my sleeves. I don't know why I did not do so this time, and it is a little bit long. I think the long sleeve length makes it look just a little bit sloppy, so I'm going to have to take those cuffs off and re-sew it. But other than that, take it in just a little bit at the waist and a little bit at the hip, and I'm quite pleased with it. I think it's a very fun shirt. It's a nice classic button down, but it's got some design features to it, and I like that.
I think I can come back and take it in just a little bit more. Just think it needs to be a little bit more fitted. Once you sew your side seams, you're going to add this front band. So this is actually 2 pieces, the front band. There's a nice little seam There's a nice little seam right here. You can see that I used a different color for the back side than I did the front side. The one thing that I did differently is the instructions have you slip stitch this in place. I didn't do that. I pressed it really well and then I pinned it and then I did a stitch in the ditch right there. Right there. That worked out really slick. The instructions have you hem the top at that point because you're going to finish off the bottom facing. You can hem it at this point or when you're done with the shirt. The next step is to add your collar and collar band. Both pieces are interfaced, as are both of these front bands and the sleeve cuffs. So I chose to use on the collar band, it's the shirting fabric on the one side and then inside is a contrast fabric. Again, you can do whatever you wish because you're doing a little color block. I took the inspiration from the Tory Burch shirt. The next step is the sleeves. Now there's a 2-piece sleeve, which I found interesting. And you know, you could actually have, I don't know that you'll be able to see the seam because I did the same fabric, but it's 2 pieces. So you could color block there too. It is a lapped cuff and that 2-piece sleeve makes for the easiest sleeve opening ever. It's a lapped cuff, but we got a sleeve opening, and because there's a seam there, you're just turning that under and hemming it. No placket, no slashing and turning and hemming, super easy.
And another look at the top on so you can see it worn. I am quite pleased with how it ended up. It's very comfortable. I'm happy with the pattern that I chose. I do like that V-neck. As I said, I don't ever button my button-up shirts all the way to the neckline anyway. And there I am. One of the neighbors is swinging by. You'd think they'd know by now that I'm out there videotaping all the time. But I like the shirt.
And finally, your last step is to sew the buttonholes and buttons onto your lovely new shirt and then wear it and enjoy all the compliments that you are going to receive. If you do not have that McCall's pattern, here are just a handful of patterns that you could use to sew a designer-inspired patchwork shirt for yourself.
This pattern is a free PDF download from Mood Fabrics. And as you can see, it already has the lines right there, which would make it very easy for color blocking. You can make those sleeves narrow if you wish. The Itch to Stitch Montana shirt. Now it does have a tie front. I haven't seen the pattern piece, but I am assuming that you can eliminate that and lengthen it to a shirt tail. And I love that it has A, B, C, D, and double D cup options available. McCall's 7904 is a Palmer and Plush pattern, which I think they have really good fitting instructions included in those patterns. This one, you would need to do some slicing and dicing to get the desired look, but it would work. This pattern is available as a PDF and it's a nice classic shirt. You could get that patch pocket on the chest very easily. You'd have to do some slicing and dicing to get your color blocking and bonus A, B, C, and D cup pattern pieces. Jalie 3130, and I may have pronounced that wrong, you can let me know, is a nice classic shirt. You can get those pockets on the chest, and these usually come in a wide range of sizes included in one envelope. They have excellent drafting and excellent instructions. Now, you could always use a shirt dress pattern and just cut it to the length that you need for a shirt. This is a nice classic look. It's BurdaStyle 320 magazine, dress number 114. This Catherine Tilton pattern, Butterick 6771, already has color blocking lines available for you. You can always change that hemline and make it more of a shirt tail classic hemline. The last pattern suggestion I have is Kwik Sew 3799. Again, just a very nice basic shirt style pattern.
And this is my Tory Burch designer-inspired button-down shirt. The designer shirt retailed for $128. Mine did not cost near that. I hope you enjoyed that video. You can sew it yourself. I have got a Pinterest board where I put inspiration photos matching up with patterns that you could use to recreate the look. I'll link that below if you're interested. And I also have some future plans for some more sew it yourself or sew the look videos. Thank you for being here on the hashtag SewATop sewing challenge, and be sure to visit the other sewing YouTubers to see what top they have sewn and hear their reviews. Thank you again to Claire for hosting this. Again, all of them will be linked below. And thank you for being here. I hope you have a blessed day and happy sewing. Visit the other